This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
And welcome back. Lots we're going to talk about today. And I do believe for many of us, it's going to be a little revealing once you think about what we dig into. We're going to start with this. Why are we intimate? Why do we have sex? It's an interesting question when you really start peeling layers off of that question. He's going to provide some of those answers, or at least some of that insight, as an amazing sex therapist. She also offers menopause therapy and professional counseling along the way there. Sandra Pascual, PhD, joins us once again. How are you doing today?
I'm very good. Thank you so much. How are you doing today?
Quite well. Interested to dig into this topic because many may say why they don't engage, but it's never really talked about why we do. It's almost taken for granted, or a rhetorical response comes from that question. Where do you want to start today?
Well, I've been thinking this week particularly about this because it's something that it comes up in my practice all the time. So I get a bunch of reasons why people would not have sex. And, I think we talked about this in previous, in previous sessions we had, of previous shows we had, in terms of like, yeah, people usually are tired, people are like disconnected, people are, again, I can mention a long list of reasons for, the people come to me with why we're not having sex because of low libido, because of low interest, because low desire. So what about thinking about the reasons for having sex rather than for not having it?
All right, let me go. Let me start there. Um, a feeling of connection, a feeling of, well, just being close to somebody, and we can strip away here that it's with marriage partner, just the reason. Well, I think we should focus on just that at this moment. What do you think?
Yes, but again, there is also a big, believe it or not, there are a lot of scientific studies talking about well-being, health well-being associated with having sex. It's not
Yep.
just about,
Oh yeah.
connection. It's about, you know, again, it's like, for instance, it's been like studying so much that, for instance, even the World Health Organization has been looking into pretty much the benefits of having sex in your well-being, in your life, in the association with your health and all that. So again, I think it goes, definitely sex will benefit the relationship with another person. But also, if you think a little bit about yourself, it will also be good for your health. It will, and again, that's pretty much what I've been kind of reading and researching this week because I got interested about this.
Hmm. Well, certainly it's been documented, the release of certain chemicals, and on and on and on. Um, I always I'm always cautious about what I read, where it's coming from, the information. Um, and I did read this week, and also saw it last week, where men need to have twice as much than women, because that's their bonding. That it's, we're off the we're off the health benefits, but seen that in a number of different places online, different sources, that men need that connection. Women may not feel the same exact way. What are your feelings?
Well, there are some literature about that, and it's usually, if you are talking about differences between men and women, it will be men want or need sex to feel connected,
Hmm.
and then women need to feel connected in order to have sex. That's a kind of like, in general, the literature talks about that. One way or another, yes, connection is the word there. And definitely, pretty much, yes, if we think about like, there are both are significant reasons. So now it's like, okay, if I don't feel connected, and I'm a woman, let's say, but again, it's like in general, if I don't feel connected, I will not, want to have sex. And then, yes, if I have sex immediately, I'm going to feel more connected. Because in a way, there is like when you're having sex, and by sex, I define anything that you are physically doing with another person that makes you feel, that makes you, again, have some kind of pleasure. Not necessarily talking about intercourse. I'm not necessarily about talking about orgasms. But again, it's like it creates this bond with your partner because, yes, physically, there is this hormone, the oxytocin, that is released while you're having sex. And that, in a way, creates these feelings of intimacy, affection, feeling close to your partner.
So I've also been reading a number of celebrities have said that they have been celibate for years. And I can't remember all of the names, but some, it could be 3 years, maybe more. Um, Trying to remember which female music and TV celeb says it's 2 or 3 years now. Um, and by doing that, kind of refocus their life, maybe got clarity in different areas. I look at that and I try to understand that. Is it possible to even look at that as, and I know we're pivoting over to why not to, but I think it's all connected.
Huh. It's difficult to comment on that for me because I'm a sex therapist. I promote having sex in a way. I want people to having sex. So you're telling me, okay, are you going to
And that's why we
tell
love you.
me? No way, Again, for me, it's like, personally, I think I always think about, again, the benefits of, and, having sex. And of course, there are people that have their own reasons not to, and I respect them, it's like irrespectable. Um, but in a way, again, it's like my profession is more focusing on like why you are having it
Oh, I get
or
it.
why you get
I truly understand. I was just trying to process what they're talking about. No judgment, whatever. Um, why that's okay, why that's better, why they're benefiting from it. I don't know. I'm just, I'm trying to big question mark there. If it works for him, it works for him.
Well, again, if you think about, okay, sex releases stress. Sex help you for, in a way, have a sleep better, particularly if you enter into menopause when you have like less, the estrogen, which helps you it's a hormone that helps you with the sleep and, and feeling less stress. That will be a kind of like, yes, if it will be helpful to have, to have something that helps you fall asleep at night. And it's that usually people feel again, more relaxed, feel more, in a way, happy. Because you are like, as you mentioned, there are endorphins, there are like this dopamine release while you're having sex. And dopamine is a chemical in the brain that makes you happy. So I think in a way you are missing, again, a lot of things. Of course, there are ways that you can compensate, I guess, doing something else. It's like, and after all, it's like all about like, okay, if you are having any other kind of pleasure in your life, you can get the same, hormone release. Maybe the key is that it's like, okay, what other activities I find that are going to give me equally some kind of pleasure in my life?
So let's go to how often, because that's always a point of contention for many.
Well, there are, no, in a way, there are some, studies about frequency. In general, pretty much it's like, if you want to, it's not that I want to put a number, but in my standards, when I talk to my clients, I usually focus on at least it has to happen once a week. Because if it's, less often than that, most probably there are going to be a lot of, again, tension that is not released, and also these, feelings of like connection, unless, it is combined, during that even if it takes longer, but at least you are increasing the intimacy in other ways, with affection, with paying attention to your partner, doing something with them that makes them happy. But again, in general, kind of my recommendation is usually try to focus on once a week. There are some studies about, like, particularly I think for men, they're not conclusive studies, but there are some studies that talk about, like, men that, maybe having ejaculating, more in a way weekly rather than once a month. They have less risk of have prostate cancer. It could
Hmm.
be, it makes sense. And again, there is this, and I think, it applies to sex a lot. It's like, if you don't use it, you lose it. There is a sense of, I think there is a sense of a disconnection. And then it's not only with the other body, with myself, because again, it's like you have to, in a way, it's like desire, like, doesn't just come by itself. You have to put a lot into it. And if you're not putting that, into it, yes, definitely I will forget about it and will not make the effort. So yes, I usually recommend at least paying attention to this once a week.
And I read that recently as well. And they even did polls of people in different ages. And no surprise, a little bit younger, depending on the demographic, could be 2 times a week, depending on your relationship situation. Although, side note here, it it seems with the things that I'm reading that younger people, say in their 20s, are putting much less emphasis on sex. I don't know if that's a trend or if you've heard that, but I heard that. But as a baseline, as you said, I'm seeing the same thing in studies, even 60s, 70s, whatever, you know, probably around once a week is kind of the baseline.
I think so. And, you'll be surprised about the amount of couples that I see, young couples that are struggling with their sex life. It is,
Hmm.
in a way, it's like there is this common idea that usually when you get older is when you start having less sex. But it's incredible. And I think again, it relates to different factors. But I'm sometimes surprised about the amount of young couples that I have that are not having a fulfilling sexual life.
Can we go there for just a moment? What are you hearing? I'm intrigued because again, one would think that if you're younger, it's more often. What are some of the struggles that you're hearing from? Let's start with younger couples.
I don't see a difference between
Interesting.
young couples and older couples in terms of the whys. Of course, let's say, particularly if you're talking about people in midlife, they might say, well, pretty much it's like there's more explanation if you want to, regarding the hormones, the loss of hormones or the menopause or whatever, andropause, or like, physically it being some, discomfort physically or whatever. But, I don't find a lot of, I will say, psychological, differences between young couples and older couples in terms of, like, not having sex in a way. So it's like it's the same thing. It's usually they talk about, I don't feel like I have low libido, and they come to us. I don't like the word libido. I usually like to use desire. Libido doesn't sound too medical. Sounds too medical to me, and so I use desire rather than libido. But anyway, and it's like usually I don't think about sex. I don't want to. It's not important. I don't feel like, and it's an effort. So it's kind of the same in a way at all ages, if you want.
Wow. So I was thinking it was going to be more of hearing, younger, we have kids, busy schedules, can't, fit fit that in our schedule and all of that. Interesting. What's your advice? Let's say that you know, in a couple comes before you, classic, where one wants it more often than the other. How do you deal with that?
Well, this is, I would say, kind of 90% of the couples or more that I see for sex therapy is like this mismatch of sexual desire. So it's like I talk about a lot about like this, in a way, it's like, okay, you don't feel this desire, you don't feel the need, you don't want to, or like you don't think about it. But in a way, it's like, what do you do, you know, for this to happen? So I think in a way, it's like, people think like, okay, the planets have to be aligned with the moon, the sun, and the earth. And then, that will be the right moment. What about you creating your own sensual universe in a way? Because the planets are not necessarily going to align with the earth and the sun and the moon. So in a way, maybe I have to create my own, universe. Maybe I have to create my own environment. Maybe I have to, pretty much just like think about what I need in order for this to happen. But if you are sitting there waiting for this to happen to you and just having this, it's not going to happen because there are 1,000 other things that you think. And then if you procrastinate, well, I think about this tomorrow. Well, I do this in another, 3 days. Well, now it's like this. Now I'm angry, and now I had a bad day. Now it's never going to happen. So it's like, yes, you need to put something out there. Of course, you need, you know, the help of your partner on this. We discussed this. I need to like you. So I need for you to be there. I need to feel some kind of connection. But also, it's like, what are you doing on a daily basis to build this so you can get to that point that you want to have sex? That's one part.
So, deep psychological question coming. Do you feel that most people, because it's biological, most people have that desire inside, but either life gets in the way, or there's a relationship challenge, or they've put their own blocks up? No judgment at all. But to the core, do you believe that there's the drive is usually there? There can be, some, I guess, hormones and things like that. But by and large, do you think that it's there, but other things, or we allow other things to get in the way?
For most people, and there is a lot of literature about this also, for most people is how do I get to this place rather than once I am in this place. I'm not saying that there are not these people that, they don't like the sex they're having, and that's another part of it.
Hmm.
That's why I say for part one, it will be how do I create this? Part two is I have to like what is happening. I have to enjoy it. It has to be pleasurable. And so let's say, but again, for most people, it's about how do I get there? How do I access this place? So it's a lot like it has to do with the in a way the preparation in a way to to get to that place, rather than just worrying about, again, it's like what is happening so much, or like, again, it's like focusing on what do I need, what is that, and it's personal. What do I need, what kind of environment I need. And for some people, it's romanticism sometimes is difficult in long-term couples. But maybe it's more about like simple things. Maybe it's an activity together. Maybe it's like something that you can do. Maybe it's through humor. A lot of people feel like, if you laugh with your partner, you are, enjoying the company of someone. When you're laughing with someone, you are kind of like enjoying the moment and you're having a good time. So some people access that place through, humor, I'd say. So again, it's like how to get there is usually the most common issue. And then, yes, there are, of course, some couples that struggle with once it's there, it's not necessarily something that is pleasurable. And that is pure like, okay, now is when the big word communication comes in.
Do you feel that once you've gone down the road of getting there, and like you say, there's challenges in that, but once you're there, but it's not as good as you want it to be, and needs aren't being met, whatever. Is that a better place to be? Because at least you can work on that a little easier than maybe getting there.
Yes, definitely. It's like if you can actually, I don't know, it's like preparing for any event in your life. Let's say that you are invited to a party and, not necessarily you feel in the mood to go to that party. I was like, oh, I had to get there. And so I was already in my PJs. I was thinking I was going to watch a movie. And then it's like, oh, okay, well, I said I will go. Okay, I'm going to get dressed. Oh, what do I wear? Blah, blah, blah. And then you get to the party, most probably you're going to forget, particularly if it was enjoyable, if like you're having a good time,
Hmm.
most probably you're going to forget all the, you know, kind of like
Preparation and getting
the
there.
preparation and the trouble that you got until you got there. So it's kind of the same thing. Of course, it has to be a good party, you know, because if
Right.
not, you're going to come back home and going to say, "Oh, shoot, it was horrible. Like, why did I, wasted my time?" So maybe it's like again, so that's what I'm saying. It's like two components of this had to get there, and then once I get there, it has to be pretty good. It has to be good enough in a
Right.
way.
Right. To make the trip there worth it. I'm dealing with this right now where, this is the day before Halloween and there's a Halloween event tomorrow night and it's at a venue. There's two really good bands. Got friends that are interested. They're all, going to go. Got to get dressed up. It's Halloween. And I have one friend and mostly it's women that are going in our group, but my male friend, he was all set to go. And I text him, I'm like, you're all set for tomorrow? Make sure you got a costume. He's like, well, I don't have a costume. I'm like, stop
Yes.
overthinking it. Come up with something quick. Keep it simple. It's going to be a great night. But just like to your point, everything is work. Like even just sitting here texting everybody, are you sure? What time we're going to meet? Blah, 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 blah.
Mhm.
There's work involved. But once you get there, it can be and should be good. If it's not, you got to work on that part too.
Yeah. Well, again, you're not going to go two times to the party that it was boring. Most probably the second time you're going to say, why the heck, I'm not going. I'm going to stay home. It's
Right.
like that was super boring.
If I knew it wasn't going to be good, I wouldn't be going. I assume it's going to be good. And then,
But
the
if you,
same.
yes, but if you know, like, oh, wow, yes, my friend so and so is going to be there, there's going to be this band, I'm going to be listening to this music. So now that's why the how is also so important. What happened is also so important. So
Mhm.
it's not just how I get there, it's also making this good. And how do I make this good? No, I don't have to rely on the other person to make me, having a good party or having a good time. As I also have to put something into it. I will add, I don't know, some stories that I can add if I'm in a party. And if not, I'm going to tell you. It's like, oh, this is good, this is not good. I like this, I don't like that. That's the part that, again, it's like that's why it's so important as well. It's like that what we are doing is also good, good enough, enjoyable, pleasurable.
I think we can never forget that we were designed to have sex. That's why we're here. We're here to create, in my mind, create and learn. That is creation, and then the learning comes along with that in many different areas. Um, Always love talking with you. You get to the point, it's understandable and very relatable. And this is stuff that people don't normally talk about, but they think about. They think about it. How do we connect with you? If somebody's having some challenges or want to, shall I say, spice things up, what's the best way to find you?
My website, notuscounseling.com. And you can email me, Sandra at notuscounseling.com. Notus is Notus.
You told me before, refresh everybody, Notus is, what does that stand for? What does that mean?
Oh, well, I am from Argentina, so and actually grew up in the Patagonia, which is super windy. And Notus is the Greek god of the south winds.
Very interesting. Yeah, now it's coming back to me. You had mentioned that. Wow. Appreciate you. Thanks for being here today. We'll catch up soon.
Thank you. See you next week.
Thanks, Sandra. We'll be right back.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.